All right, hello. So in my last episode, I got the rogo test command working. And what that does is it looks on the server for the answer to the test. So whenever you have a bunch of tests, you're going to, whenever you're presented with the first test, you're not going to get the answer or even a rule to validate the answer. That's all going to happen on the server. And that gives the server some flexibility in choosing what the next test is. So like giving you like hints or something like that, for example. But that only works if we know what the results are. So right now, as of yesterday, we are able to take, you run, let's do it, rogo test. Oops, that didn't work. This thing rebooted in the middle of the night because it's Windows and it started setting things up, but I installed rogo, so it should have, oh, I have some error. Oh, I see. Okay, well, let's just move the temp directory to up a little bit. cd temp. Somehow this wiped out my somehow I wiped out my install. What I was going to say is if you run, well, let's just, I guess we just walk through the whole thing. So cd temp, and we're going to say pip. We've got some virtual environment here. I moved it, so I wonder if it's even going to work. Yeah. Wow. So we've initialized an environment, so we're going to say source, and then we're going to say virtual environment bin. There's no bin on Windows, it's script, and then activate. All right, so now we're in this directory, and we say pip, and it should find it. And we should say pip install rogo. And it should be able to see that. Oh, but we want to install an editable version so that it remembers where we are. Now that that temp directory is out of the way, it only wants one package at the top. Oh, hello, somebody's watching. I had technical difficulties right at the start. I thought I had it all set up before I started, but here we go. All right, so pip install rogo. Now we should be able to say rogo test. But not install to. What? That's nonsense. I'm just going to wipe out this whole thing. Okay, and I'm going to even make a new cdd d vir temp. All right, we're going to say python-m virtual environment, and then create, and just by default it's going to create a virtual environment over here. Takes a moment. Copying a bunch of stuff over in there, the Python interpreter and whatnot. There we go. And we say activate it with source virtual environment scripts. I don't know why it doesn't put it in bin. Activate. Now we're in the virtual environment there, and then we say pip install -e for editable, and we say rogo. This should work. It worked yesterday. I don't know why it doesn't work. If it doesn't work, maybe we have to install something system-wide, but that's crazy. Why should it have to install on the whole point of a virtual environment is it doesn't have to install on that. Looks like it's installing everything fine here, so I don't know what happened the last time. Successfully built rogo. Yeah, so now we should have a command called rogo. There we do. Okay, I don't know why it didn't work last time. Probably just some effect of moving it. Okay, so we type rogo. I should probably do the same on the server. Make sure we have a fresh environment since things have changed. So let's just go ahead and at least delete the database. rogo.stv, and we don't have to reinstall. We just have to set up the database, which is done with read Yeah, so we read rogo, yeah, in this file, and we create, because it doesn't exist before. Now it works, okay. So now we have a fresh database. We know now we need to import the test plan for rogo. We import, how about B4? I haven't validated the B4 test plan, so we can import the LearnTris. LearnTris test plan. And there we go. We have 45 tests added. When we go to the website, we can see some challenges, and we can see the two things we just imported, and we see we have 45 tests. It doesn't show what they are yet. That's something I'm going to work on very soon, where you can actually browse the tests and or whatever. And we are going to now say rogo login, which should bring up a web browser. Already logged in, okay. Oh, I need to remove this database too. Obviously, this is stuff that people would not have to do on their own. This is just because the development setup. I got to create the database here too. So same command, echo.read. Rogo SQL init.sql through SQLite 3 of rogo.sdb. And now we have a copy of rogo.sdb, and we can say rogo login. It knows from well, it just has a default server. It logged us in over here. Didn't have to type anything or anything. And then say rogo init. Rogo init, and we will check that we want to do LearnTris. Project initialize, edit rogo to configure your project. All right, so if we cat.rogo, it's a JSON file, and it says we need to run my program, and I already have something called my program here, which is just, I believe, a copy of echo. My program, hello, and it should echo. Right, so I just copied user bin echo over here. And that it should be enough to pass the first test. So if we say rogo test, we don't have any tests by default. We have 0 tests, so we say rogo next, and we get the tests. Now you see something happened to the server over here, and it this bug telling us what happened. So here's the first test. We can say rogo show. Probably should show this by default when we get. What happened? Okay, that's weird. I got a bug. SQLite 3 rogo.sdb. If we look in the database, that makes this a little bigger. Not, since I can't seem to move the window. Frozen up for some reason. There we go. Let's see what's going on here. Select star from challenges. Select star from attempts. So we should have one attempt because we started an attempt. We said init, and that this should be the one that's in the rogo file. omyt, yeah. First 2 letters, last 2 letters, and then select star from tests. Nothing. But then why does it say that we? Okay, that's weird. That's a bug. So when we say in client.py here, we don't need this. Close this. Get next. You must be logged in to get the test. Sorry, in driver.py. Py is the REST client. What's that? Loading little menu or something? My pie charm is screwed up. What's this? All right, I don't know what that is. Just a little floating. Oh, there it goes. No, I think it's part of PyCharm and it's just floating there. I need to restart PyCharm now. I have a little window in the start of my screen. Sure. Yes, we're going to exit. Okay. That's annoying. Technical difficulties left and right. this command should have fetched the test. So that's the whole point of rogo next. Oh, I know what's happening. No. It should complain. Yeah, it doesn't even have a database. I was thinking it was looking in the wrong version. I haven't really nailed down where the database is, so it's in the current directory right now. And I thought maybe that was pulling it from the. I was mistakenly thinking it was pulling from the wrong database. But rogo test should say all 0 tests passed, right? Because there are no tests in the database. But why does rogo next think that there is one in the database? Already required next tests. Well, okay. Let's figure it out. Okay, so we need to bring up PyCharm again. It didn't come back up yet. And in the driver, I have this thing called the driver, and it says I wanted to find this thing that I saw in a jump to navigation bar, alt home maybe. Declaration or usages, implementations. F12. Maybe that was it. Yeah, that's it. So you can jump to the structure without having to have the structure window open. So we can close the structure window and have a little more space. So what was it, Control F12? Yeah. Oh, hey, welcome back. You used to watch when I was doing small talk stuff. I put that on hold for a while, so now I'm doing rogo. Rogo is so I got laid off and I decided to start a company, and it's all about teaching. And so rogo is the tool for doing the teaching. It's like a courseware kind of thing, and it presents itself as a series of challenges. So the first challenge is learn tris. Go to learnprogramming.org. Oh, sorry, no, it's a GitHub. Or if you just type learn tris in here in Google or wherever, it'll find it. It's a test suite for making Tetris. I did this about 10 years ago, and now I'm turning it into some courseware, and it's going to be the first course in the system. It's a kind of a language neutral tool for, it runs your program. It logs into the server, gets a test case, and it like runs acceptance tests over standard I/O or a web server or something like that. There's supposed to be a demo right here. So rogo next is supposed to fetch a test. You've already acquired the next test, but that is wrong. So let's double check that the server has tests. We said rogo import. It has tests. And so something's going wrong here. And I don't know what it is. So if we say rogo next, get next, you must be logged. Sorry. In the driver, sadly, it's written in Python here, temporarily anyway. It's actually going to run on a little virtual machine. But, all right, so the whole point of hitting Control 12 was to find get do next, and then if known tests self result. If we say do rogo show, no current tests are known, yet somehow no current tests are known. So if tests, no current tests are known. So tests should be empty. That's the whole point of this. That's why this test is failing. That's why it's saying no current tests are known. Self result equals config test results. So attempt and tests. And then here, Ah, okay. So that's why. No. Attempt known test itself results. Oh, as E. This should never happen. Next, print. Instead of this, let's just show the error message. Print E. Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. I wish you success in your business. I appreciate that. Rogo next. Foreign key constraint failed. What is it trying to run? Oh, it's not going to do that, is it? It can't show me the error because it's not it doesn't tell you what the prepared statement is. What is this happening? Is it trying to log into the server? Oh, yeah, it's trying to upload my changes. It's supposed to feel like a game. So anyway, this was done yesterday, but I must have changed the database somehow and insert into test chid name head source body. Oh, interesting. Okay, so chid should not. It's this. It's because here I imported rogo first, then I imported learntris, and so previously it was fetching this with ID, challenge ID number 1, and now it's challenge ID number 2. But in this database, I'm replicating the data, and in this database, yeah. So this is the problem. So the chid should be something we calculate on our own. And so chid equals get challenge ID from attempt. I think that is actually the no. That just hallucinated that. So in the database, I think we can open it. We do this. We open it up here. Oh, database. I'm trying to learn how to use this thing without the challenge from attempt. Yes, this is what we want. So attempt.id, yeah. All right, so now this should work. So rogo.next fetches the data. There we go. And so now it shows us the actual test. All right, so let me make a new window here. Git bash. cdd Happy New Year. How are you doing, by the way? Haven't seen you in a while. cd rogo. I don't think I need this rogo.sh anymore either. Yeah, I no longer need the rogo.sh. Okay, so gd. Fix chid on rogo next. Fix ensure correct shit. Ensure correct challenge ID on rogo next. Okay. Well, I guess okay is better than terrible. I don't. my server, my machine rebooted. So I have to log into Pageant. Try and guess what this password is. I have like 8 variations on this password. I really should change. Git push. Doing a React Native app. When you do that, you write in JavaScript and then you use like native widgets as your tags. Is that how that works? I've heard of it, but I haven't tried it. rm sh git commit remove vestigial. Is that if you don't know how to spell the word, maybe you shouldn't use it. Vestigial rogo.sh. Did I spell that right? Vestigial. Forming a very small remnant of something that was once much larger or more noticeable. Actually, that's not even what it means. Redundant. Remove obsolete. Vestigial is not the word I wanted to use anyway. Okay. So now that this is working, the idea is that rogo next fetches a test. And this actually should probably tell you. Well, I'm working on that because it used to you used to know exactly what the output should be, and here now I've kind of hidden the answer because I've moved the validation to the server, and so I need to rewrite this to show in cases where we're checking the output like to a spec. It should show the output, or though in this case it actually does explain what it is. It should not produce any output. And so rogo test should pass because I'm using echo, and echo does not produce any output except a blank line, which is ignored. And so it does pass. Whereas if we had said copy user bin ls, well, actually sleep would be a better example, but if we copy that to my program, then when we run rogo test, it fails because it produces these 2 lines because that's what ls is producing, or actually ls when it sees that it's in a pipe or in a cat, it does that. Native controls are packaged with npm yarn and exposed as JSX. Okay, that's cool. But yeah, so you have a tag for each native control. I have not really used React. We used Vue at work, and for this thing I'm using HTMX. Which I don't know if I like it or not yet, but it's kind of cute. All it does is it fetches little chunks of HTML from the server and just inserts it in line. So it's a much smaller little framework. There's no taking JSON and rendering it as something. You do all that on the back end. Or I guess you move that complexity to the back end. All right. So rogo test is failing because of this implementation. And we will copy user bin echo to my program, and we say rogo test. All right, so the result from the server is that it said we passed, and then it gives us a rule for checking it on our own. And the rule is that check these lines should be the output, and the data is empty list. And so we need to save this both on the server and on the client. So on the client, we need to save it so that we know, so it doesn't think we already have the next test. We have to save it so that what it's looking for is unpassed tests. And we do have to do the same thing on the server so that we can get the next test. So I would guess that this is something in the database itself. We already have get next tests, and the same kind of logic needs to be here. So def save think I'm only going to save for now the passing test. So save answer. Again for excuse me, an attempt ID. Save a passing answer. Oh, I guess we just put like a pass flag on here. Pass bool. And then we could just save anything. Save. Hello. I'm on a stream. I'm gonna be down in a couple hours probably. I'm gonna close the door. Welcome home. Love you guys. Ooh. And my head's sideways now. It's gonna... The facial recognition on this thing takes a while to move. Insert into progress. AID, TID, actual. Test ID, actual. This just made this up, right? A Copilot made this up. All we need is well, it's going to be commit, and it's going to be insert into progress. Let's see what the progress table looks like. Oh, I see. So it does. Okay, so progress only just. Okay, so insert into progress. AID, TID. So we need AID. Well, okay, we have the code, right? So we can so select ID from attempts where code is equal to AID. And that's AID. I guess this is like mock SQL here. Test ID is going to be yeah. So select a.id and t.id from using the same thing where where the attempt challenge ID is equal to the test ID and a code is equal to something else. From attempts a tests t. Shoot, can you even do that in SQL? SQLite insert. Maybe I have to do this in 2 passes. No, because we can select, we can do a select statement. Okay, so insert into progress. Insert into table. And then we have to do, oh no, we can't, we can skip it. Select statement. So insert into, so we can say insert into progress. and we don't need this. Select AID as aid, TID as TID. This is wrong. AID, TID, TS, and VCS ref, which is going to be empty. Timestamp. This is actually should be a date time default, not null default current timestamp. And we can just drop that table and replace it in the server. rogo.sdb. Hello, other person. Welcome. Yes. What? rogo.sdb. rmrogo.d. 6.3. That should fail, and then we say drop table progress. Re-add it with this, and then same thing over here. Oh. All right, so now I was just adding a date time. So all I need to do is introduce AID and TID, and then eventually we'll introduce like a kind of look at your Git, your hash on your repo or whatever, so we can tie it to a version. This should be called like version ID. Hello. Vertex. Okay, so I'm writing a SQL statement. Insert into progress AID, TID, and we don't need the timestamp. So really, we just do this. We're going to ignore pass for now. We're just going to insert when it passes. We'll do that. So db.commit. All this stuff. Insert into progress. No, that can't be right. We have to have a test name. Test name. Or just how about we call it just test string. And A code equals this, and T name equals something. And then we're going to pass in the attempt ID. All right, I think we just call this attempt usually, because it's not a numeric ID. It's just a code. Where A code equals attempt, and T name equals test. From attempt A, where that should work. It sounds like Chinese. I watched your chess video and wonder what happened to that. Did you finish it? I have not finished the little chess thing. Thank you for watching that. Somehow that turned into my most watched video. I don't remember exactly why I even started that, but I had written a chess. I have like a chess library in Go, and I was gonna make a front end for it, and I have not hooked that up yet. I got busy at work and just never got back to it. But I am thinking about making a. So this thing I'm working on right now is a courseware server. So for writing courses, and I was thinking about using, a lot of chess engines have like they're command line driven, and they just produce their output over standard output. And I was thinking about actually making like a chess engine course. This might be a down the line a bit. but then the the chess thing would be a front end for that, using the standard. There's like a standard chess protocol for communicating between front ends and back ends like that. I haven't gotten that far yet, but it's something on my mind. I've done a little bit of work in Godot, but usually it's just animation stuff for my videos. And I wrote there's a little virtual machine course that I'm doing, and that's going to be animated with Godot. And there's also the front end for this. The first test here is about a Tetris, and that's going to be a follow-up for that. So short answer, no, I have not finished the chess thing, but I've done some work in Godot and may pick up that chess thing again soon. YouTube kind of does a disservice when they, I guess I did a disservice to myself by somehow that video took off. It's like my most popular video on this channel. Insert into progress. Okay, so this is what's going to happen on the we should really say save progress. And this is actually the DB module, so we just say commit. And then we also want to say on the client side, we don't need this actual. Save progress. Oops, save progress on an answer on when a test passes. When a test passes, and def. We also need, so this thing needs, so here's my database, right? We have 2 copies of this database, one on the server and one on the client. Server needs to, okay, so we're in an attempt, we're running through one of the tests or the challenges. It has a bunch of tests. We have finished one of the tests and got it to complete. In this case, we would say rogo show, we passed this test that just quits when we get the queue, so it does quits without doing anything. And that should be passed, so that we need to update the progress here to be version. And then right now there's no we need to save this on the client because this is what tells us that we're ready to move on. Well, no, it doesn't. This is what tells us that we don't have to check with the server to find out the answer to the test. All right, so we need to save this. So save def save rule basically attempt. And so when we pass the test, rogo test, we get back from the server. Right, because I just broke it. And the server broke because it also saved with that. It needs to be a little less sensitive for that. Rogo test. All right, so it sends us back this. And we need to save this part right here. And we need to call this the, so we say attempt test rule. So an attempt is a string, the test is a string, the test name is a string, and the rule is a validation rule, which comes from the model. From model import from import model as M. And in fact, whenever we see the word challenge, I'm going to replace that with .m or m.challenge and m.test description. And I think then we don't need this import right here. Yeah, that's all gone. And we say this is m.validation. Or I guess this is really a dictionary, right? So this is going to be a dict. And then we'll create it. We'll create a validation rule. M rule equals m.validation rule. from data. That sounds right. Do I have that? Oh, someone's talking to me. Oh, thank you. Thank you for the good luck. Validation rule from data rule. Why? What's wrong with that? Oh, because unindexed. Okay. And then it's useless. Useful? No. Actually, we don't need this. We don't want this, because right now we're just saving it to the database. And so we're going to turn this into a string. So load JSON, if it's already there, JSON dump s rule. We're going to dump the rule to JSON, like we don't have JSON imported. Import JSON. Yeah, thanks for watching. JSON dump s rule. So hold on. So we're gonna, for now, we're just gonna, oh, right. To do save actual rule as JSON. For now, we still have this O-lines column. So right now, the only kind of test we can do is, oh, thank you, Happy New Year. The only kind of test we can do is we have input lines and output lines. We always have input lines because that's what the test runner is going to input to your system. And in the past, the output lines were always known, and then you would do a diff with the output lines. And so that's the only kind of test we have right now. But I want to expand that. And so I'm making the database. This is going to be replaced with a test table. This is going to be replaced with a rule. But that does not exist yet. So instead, so we don't actually need that. For now, we still have this O-lines thing. And so assert rule kind, rule kind is lines. Don't know how to save rules. And make that a, we can do that, yeah, that's fine. Don't know how to save rule kind rules. How about we just not worry about quoting there and just use the R. And then yeah, sorry, this is a little bit boring CRUD stuff at the moment. We're going to commit. Yeah, update O-line, update test at O-lines equals question mark equal data. That's correct. Where and we just need the test in the test itself. Do that where T. Yeah, where H8 equals T. Yeah, so update test set O-lines equals question mark where ID is equal to, no. Update test set O-lines equals question mark where tests, where name equals question mark and Copilot was almost right. Where name is question mark and name and the, so okay, so the update tests, the, we have this should be unique. Chid name, yes, and chid is the other thing, right? And so the challenge ID, and the challenge ID is select a.chid challenge ID from attempts A, where A code is equal to question mark. And so then we give it the attempt. So we take the attempt code, right, the test name, second thing, Good enough. So we save the rule, that should work. Okay, I believe these queries are correct. We'll find out in a minute, but now in the app, I'm trying to think which side I should do first. I think the app we should do first. So that's the server. And so when we do check test, so this is messy code, I know. We don't even need to dump it actual. Actual is none. We don't need to see this. All right, so now we're going to, so validate current user owns the tester. So we get the actual output. This is where we get the, this is messy. So let me put some comments here. So first fetch the expected output. To do update to allow validation rules. And so this is up here is what does this. Arbitrary, to allow arbitrary validation rules. Right now we only use the line diff rule. So that's test description here. I guess it, yeah, we don't even tell it what kind of rule it has. It just knows because there's only one kind. So now we have the test, and then fetch the actual output from, or the actual output from the test run is in the JSON, is in the request body. JSON, and then check the output. Now check the actual output and return the test result. So if r dot, this is so messy, but r.toData. So r is a test result, which is a nice model here. I gotta get a better keyword for this. Code holding collapse all. Control Shift numpad question mark. Control Shift num. Okay, I don't have a numpad, but that worked. So test result. Is success. Is passing. Let's do return self-kind is, or does all-kind pass? How about just is pass? If R is pass, then yes, DB save progress, code, test name, true. And what is the test name? Code and test name, we have that. True. Okay, and that's it. That's all we do on the server side. We do not save the rule. We already know the rule. But on the client side, it's going to send back a pass, and then we're going to know what the new rule is. So then that time, but if you have 100 tests, you don't want to send 100 requests to the server. You only send it until it passes. And then when it passes, now you have a rule. You get back a rule that says how to test it. and that is in the client. We should test what I just did, but actually that's interesting, because let's see what actually happens there. All right, first of all, our server has died again because it saved something in the middle of me typing. That's not a problem, that's just like the development workflow here. And then it's a development server. Okay, so now we will say rogo test. We get this kind, pass, whatever, and it should have saved something to the progress table. So select star from progress. There we go. Let's see mode table so we can see what those are. So it passed on test ID 3. Oh yeah, that's right. Because there's two tests from the other. There's two challenges in here. So the first test and challenge, yeah, that makes sense. And rogo test again, and it should pass it again and save it. I think I'm okay with that, because we're going to prevent that from happening and saving multiple times on the client side. So over here where it says to do save role to DB, that is in the driver for the command line driver. This really should be called shell. I should probably rename this. In fact, I want to rename database probably to DB, app to server, driver to shell, or CLI maybe, and clients. It is a web client, so whatever. Okay. What's it mad about this? It needs one less blank line. Man, all right. So somewhere in here it says to do save the database, or save rule to DB. So I'll just search for that. Save rule. Oh. Again, Control F12. The do a rogo test, so that should be do test. Well, I guess in the runner itself. Let's not do this. Let's not open this up. Let's go to here. Go to runner. Save rule to DB. So it's already in the right place. And it's going to be that same code that I put in the app just a minute ago, where I did the assert. Oh, didn't I just do an assert? Oh, the assert is there. Okay, so if it is a pass, then save progress. Right, so in the driver, run the tests. If is, maybe we should only save the first thing. Wait, hang on. It is in this spot. So this is the spot where we, hang on. In the runner, this is the spot. This is called from this spot right here, which is only if we've asked the server for an answer and it passed. So we've saved a new rule. Okay, so we're going to save the new rule. So we can just go ahead and first of all save that we've made progress. So test.name. We need the config. cfg m.config. So save new rule, we're going to pass in config. Or really, we only need the config attempt. That's what we need in the test.name. Let's just actually do string. Let's say attempt string. All right, so we saved progress to attempt and test. And then db save rule, attempt test rule, and the rule is what? Rule is a dictionary, so we want to say rule to data. All right, so if we run this again, what should happen, first of all, this should go away. So let's get rid of that. Where's the print? I think I removed the print here. Yep. No. All right, so somewhere I've got a stray print statement, probably in rogo test itself. No. In client checkout, but there's probably a print statement. Print data here. Okay. Rogo test. Timestamp. Okay, so we have got a timestamp on progress, right? And save progress, yeah. So that was because I changed this table. I think I had the same issue on the server, and I changed that table for progress. So I changed this to default to the current timestamp. So let's actually fix that database. So SQLite 3 rogo SDB. I think we're almost here. If this works, then drop table progress. Paste in a new table. There we go. And then rogo test. All one test pass. Okay. This may or may not be time to commit your changes or spend some time improving your code. So just to be sure, that posted an answer here, right? 1821. Yeah, this happened just now. You just have to trust me that my clock is 121. Why it says 18 there? I guess that's an odd time zone. And then so now if I say SQLite 3 rogo.sdb and we say select star from progress, that's there. And also if we say select, what should have happened is we should have saved the rule. So select star from tests. There should only be one test in this database, right? And select O lines from test. Select O lines from tests. And that is an empty line. Select O lines is null from tests. 0. So we've got one line that is 0. So it's not null. And then if we say rogo next, right, so we've passed this test. Rogo show, this test is passing. We can do some refactoring. We can do some, no current tests are known. That is not the right message to display. It's not that no current tests are known. There's a more general message. It is true that that happens on the first try. and maybe rogo show, we ought to be able to tell it to show like the last test or something like that. But what it's doing is showing the unpassed test. You should always have one unpassed test, or at least the first unpassed test, right? And so when it was empty, saying no current tests are known made sense. But now what it should say is all known tests are passed. Either there are all known tests are passed. Have passed. Have passed. Print. Use rogo test to check that they still pass. And then I'm going to add something like rogo list known tests, and rogo show name, so that you can get a name for that test, or so that you can show a particular one, and also maybe rogo show latest or whatever. Double, like backslash, dash last or something. But I'm not going to worry about that for right now. Right, because I'd have to write a SQL statement, and I don't want to lose the commit here. Get status. I'm going to decline that phone call. Call somebody else. Sorry, 1 second. Not a Git repository. All right, so Git status. Not a Git repository, or the. Why is that saying that? Oh, because I'm not in the repository. So I'll go over here and say Git status. So that's all my changes. Is everything working? Double check my to-do list. I think everything's working. So on regression or current test, check the output. Oh, okay, so let's test that. So now our test is passed. So this is the web server. Our test is passed. And now we're going to break it. So we're changing stuff around, and we break the test. So we say, so right now, what it's doing is it's really, this should show like what rogo status should show what it's doing or something like that. This is my program. It's running my program, which is just a copy of echo hello, right? But if we copy user bin ls.exe to my program, and we do it again, rogo test, it should fail. And when it fails, it's encountering an answer that it doesn't know. But we have a validation rule, so we don't have to check with the server. It should test it here, and so there should be no traffic over here, and it should just tell us that we need to remove the output of ls. So if we say my program right now, and we say just cat, this is what it sees from the pipeline, as opposed to when it sees it's in a shell. So when it sees it's in a a pipe, then it's talking to a pipe, then it's going to print this. So it's going to tell us to remove these two lines. That's what it should do. So if we say rogo test, it did. All right, so we have the rule. It does this. Everything is working fine. So it has the client has learned how to test this for us. We don't have to recheck with the server every time. Good. Okay. So this works. We don't need this information anymore, because it doesn't hurt to have that. But how about we could just call this example response. Those are two example responses. Okay. Add a pass flag to the progress table. Do I really even want this? The thought is that if it fails, we should tell the server, and then the I think maybe this goes to a different table, to an errors table. Save failures to an errors table on the server, or on both client server. The idea being that this can come much later, though. This is not required. The idea being that not only are we checking your work, but you could show it to your mentor or whatever. You show it to the server owner and say, hey, why didn't this work? That maybe this is I thought this was a valid answer, but it failed, right? We can see the problems that we have. We can record it for posterity, for analysis, and we can see what kind of mistakes. As a teacher, you can see what kind of mistakes the students are making all the time. Only consider successful attempts as progress for DB next test. That is actually covered by separating them out. So by not tracking, we'll just call it something other than progress. And so now we don't have to worry about only considering successful tests. Record the result on the server. We just did that. If the test passes, remember the accepted output locally. We just did that, but it's not accepted output. Remember actually we did this, yes. Accepted output locally. In the future, so what needs to happen down here is that we save other kinds of rules, of validation rules, besides just lines. And if we fail, print the error message and stop. I think that's working. So that means that if we get the next test, so let's double check that this actually works. If we go to the back to the server and we say rogo, first of all, yes. So even though it's broken locally, you should be able to fetch the next test. You can. So we say rogo next. There's nothing stopping you from doing that. Maybe it should. Maybe rogo next should check that. Rogo next should probably check that the last, like compare your last. Like maybe there should be a result table, or a run table, a test run table. Anyway, should probably remember rogo test should probably record pass fail status, and rogo. So the test should probably record the pass fail status, and rogo next should check that the tests actually passed the last run, right? Because you shouldn't commit things. It should also check that you've checked everything into version control, right? And it should say, hey, right now it should complain to me that I've changed something and it didn't get put into version control, and it hasn't been tested or something like that. Rogo next. You have completed the challenge. That is not correct at all. Okay, so we got a bug. We have a bug in rogo next on the server. In this query for rogo next, it should have hit next tests. Man, can you see the prepared statement? This is so annoying. I want to be able to see the SQL that it's sending. SQLite Python SQLite 3 prepare statement. Can you see the prepared SQL in from Python DB API 2? No answer. Cursor last executed. Let's see if that works. That's probably an undocumented behavior, but I don't know. Let's just try. Uh, last executed. Seems like a deprecated or hidden thing. No. I bet this does not exist. It says it doesn't exist. What? I think that's only for MySQL. SQLite 3 prepared statement. It doesn't really matter. It'd be nice to be able to copy and paste that query into SQLite. That seems like a flaw in the. If you want to debug this and see what it's actually running. Oh, it is nice that you can say colon whatever. That's nice. Yeah, I think it just doesn't. There's nothing exposing that conversion for you. But it is kind of handy that you can say that. And so what is that? What is that protocol? Or what is that data? So you can give it a string. All right, well, that is good to know. I didn't realize you could do that now, or I had forgotten you could do that. That'll make the code a little easier to understand, I think. Like here, you could say like this code. But it's too bad you just can't print it out. That would be nice. That would be convenient. Maybe I'll submit a patch or something for that someday in the future. But 3 ought to be able to see the prepared statement. Maybe not. All right. What's next? Why was that? Okay, so I was trying to do that because I wanted to see this prepared statement because I believe it. Okay, I'm trying to debug a prepared statement. I don't know what the answer is, right? So it was here. That's not useful because it doesn't work. It's not there for SQLite. All right, so we want to say next test. So there's one called next test for attempt. db get next test, and it's this query right here. All right, so we only have one thing called a code. And again, this is going to be same thing, code AID. So that isn't that hard to implement. So let's see where we're at. On the server, we need to paste this in. And on the server, we can actually edit it, I believe. Sort of. Paste it over here somewhere. A little notepad I have. So I'm going to change that code to select star from attempt. And this is the code. All right, well, let's see what's wrong with that. Let test chit group name count as passed. First of all, select star from progress. We should have two. Oh, we have many of them all on that one test. Let's just look at this inner query. I think this should tell me something, right? Oh. Right, so let's filter out the having. I kind of like, again, where I worked, we had a language that was very similar to this wrapper called prequel, prql.org, where you could do things. prql lang.org. You could do like one step at a time and like debug things. I wonder if you like. It doesn't matter because I'm not using it, but I'm tempted to like switch over to this because it, like, as nice and expressive as SQL is, it's hard to debug. And when you want to make a minor change to something, you might have to radically change the structure of your query, as opposed to just like inserting a line or something. Whereas this is a pipeline kind of thing, and we had that where it was an XML syntax, but it was a very nice kind of way to do things. I may actually like implement something like this for SQLite as part of my course, because I'm doing this thing with languages, and also I think it would be interesting. All right, so select teach chid from blah, 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 blah. What is wrong? What is wrong with this? The core part here is select star from tests T, attempts A, right? Attempts A. $188. Okay, that's not what we want. We're multiplying everything here because we didn't join it. So we have 4 of those, okay. So we want to left join from attempts A, left join tests T on A ID A on A chid is equal to T chid. Select count star from attempts A left, and then this is left joined again. No. Oh, sorry. Dot T chid. T dot chid. 180. And here we want to say on A, we want to say TID is equal to progress TID 48. What does that mean? Select count star from, so I believe there are 45 tests from tests where chid is equal to 2. 45 tests, and then we've got 3 things. Hey, Batlin. The difficulty of debugging long SQL expressions reminds me of working with Haskell. The REPL helps at least. Yeah. I used to live in the SQL when I the SQL terminal for MySQL, but and, you know, you make views and whatnot, and then the view helps you. But like when you're debugging the view itself, it's a little annoying. And just having seen something work so much better, it was so nicer. We had like I said, an XML syntax, but this is all written in K, and you know, we were lifting the K primitives up into XML so that they could be distributed across many machines. Anyway, so we had our own language for the query language, but it was just K primitives, but then lifted up and distributed over many machines, and then we just, instead of putting a K syntax on it, we put a XML syntax on it at the time. It was kind of, but you know, so it looked ugly, but it had this very same similarity, and then you could have like we had a timeline here, so you would, as you did each one of these steps, you could click on any one of them, and A, you'd get like a little panel over here to configure it, and then B, you would see the data as it was at that step. So much nicer. And you could even put SQL in, so you could take a SQL statement here, and then that would be one step, and then the next step would be from this select something else. If you wanted to put like 2 SQL statements, so you could use it, but then you could also mix and match the two kinds. And then it would cache each layer. So at any step, you could jump back here, and you would get the cache of everything up to that point. And it would just it was super fast, even for billions of data rows. Sadly, we got bought by somebody, and they laid me off. So. Yeah. Although the statement was, that feels much. I don't know if anyone can see this on the video, so that feels much nicer than ORMs like Hibernate, which try to abstract away the SQL layer, but ends up making things much more difficult. Yeah. Well, it's a different thing, because like an ORM is like mapping you to a application, whereas this is just running a query. Even after running the query, I still want to get, I still feel the need. I've said like numerous times in the past, however many hours I've been working on this program, that it would be so nice to have my old, to use my old object relational mapper just to fix some of this stuff. But I'm trying to keep complexity low, and I don't want to open that can of worms. I wrote an ORM for Python like 15 years ago, 20 years ago. And it was great, but I just, who knows if it even works anymore. So I didn't want to open that can of worms or introduce a dependency here. All right, anyway, so, right, so this should say, let's actually do this. Okay, so actually we want to see like t.name, and then progress.star, p.star, sorry. And we'll limit this to 5. So we can see, oh. Order by t.grp for group. Yes, okay. So let's put in t dot group is like the group number. So if you had a bunch of tests, yeah, this is what I should see. So there are 4 progress entries here, giving us 3 extra rows. That's why it's 48 rows instead of 45 or 45 tests. I want to get this row right here. So I'm asking for the next test, and I want to find the first one that is. So I want to group t name. We don't need the name, but count p star from that, and that is gonna break, right? Right. You can't just say p dot. You say p dot id or whatever. Yes, that is correct. But it lost that line because we need to say group by t dot group. Also, SQL, like the order doesn't, shouldn't matter. T dot group. I'm used to the order not mattering, but of course it does in SQL. Because like I said, you shouldn't matter whether you whatever. Like it's declarative. It shouldn't matter what order you put those clauses in, but it does. All right. So now this is what I wanted. This is what I want. Limit 5, and then we want to say having. So greater than 0 as passed, and then having not passed. Having not passed, why not? You have to put that before having not passed. Yes, okay, you have to put that before that. So having is like a where clause after the grouping. This is right, and then limit 1. Right. This is what I need. This gives me the next test. Oh, but then we need to order, we need all the tests. So we need all the tests in this group. So we want T group. Having, so let's say having count p.id greater than 0. Having PID, right? So not pass. So having count PID equals 0, limit 1. T.chid. And this, and then we're going to say select star from this from as G left join tables T on. So I want to take this group and find everything on G dot chid equals T dot chid the challenge ID, and g.group equals, I don't know if you can do an and in a on clause, g.group equals t.group. And that should give me all the tests, which is one test. No such table tables. Can we just say T? Not tables, tests. Or did I say tables? Didn't I just change that to T? And it still said no such table T. Oh, so no such table T. Join tests T. There we go. T dot star. I think this is one test because it should be everything in group one, which is only one group, yeah, one item. Yeah, so it's one row. Mode lines, I think you can say, and then do it again, and you can see the, yeah. So it's just one row, but it's long text, a lot of stuff in here. All right, that's what I wanted. This is the correct thing. But we also have to say where a dot code, otherwise this would give us the first test for everybody, and we want the first test for for every attempt, and we want the first attempt for this attempt, which is where I would want to put in a where a dot code is equal to blah blah blah, having this, and then remove this. Syntax error. Where a dot code maybe here we need it. Where a dot code is equal to blah blah blah. What is wrong? Temps A left joined, no. It's because I've got this. Why can't I say that? I think we say a code. No. And the code is up here. At least this is in the. I can't even put where. Okay, where can I put the where? Before the having clause. Before the group by clause. Where one, that should work. Okay, that works. And then a dot code is equal to blah blah blah. That works, and I think I don't even need this here. Yeah, okay. That's a mess. And if I zoom, then I can copy this. All right, so this is what I should have put for this query right here. I'm not going to take the time to learn from my mistakes and analyze why I. Okay, Actually, maybe I will, because it's a teachid t group from left join where group by t group having count ordered by t group as G, left join test T on it's not really clear how to format things like this, or pretty print things like this. All right, and then we'll put this on the next line, and we need to bring in, this is the code. This is the only parameter that we need. We don't need that. And this is called code. And we will put in code equals AID. And that's it. Okay, so after debugging that nasty query, we should now see when we ask for the next test, it should tell us not that you have completed the challenge, but I don't know why I said rogo test and then it said ogo test. That's weird. Rogo test. Sorry, rogo. Even though it is failing, we can still, at this point in time, still get the next test. Yes, and there we see the P command, and here we have the P command right here. Rogo test. And it should say 0 of 2 tests passed. And this is what I wanted to test, that we have 2 tests in the database now, in our local database. Move this over here. Actually, we can see the local database in here. No. There should be two tests here. There are. I don't have RL wrap here. There's no read line here. You can't press up to see what the oh. Wait, what? Count star from test. Select count star from tests. Otherwise, select count star is just going to return 1. So there's 1 of star. Okay. All right. So even though it's failing, we were able to select a new test. We can always fetch the next test. No, we can't. We cannot fetch a third test because we have not told the server you already have the next test. All right, so that's good. This is all working right. That's the workflow. All right, so now if we wanted to print past that test, so first of all, it's failing on the first test. And so we would write a program that's like, okay, well, let's just pass the test, right? Let's write a program that does it. So in the, I have to add a new directory on here. Open dever temp, where I have this temp. No, I said temp. What's? There we go. Attach. And dever temp is just, I don't want to move anything. It just has this my program here, and so we need to put something in here that's going to pass that test. So let's say, I'm going to think of the easiest way to do it. New file. I'm going to say test.rs. Like, I'm trying to think of how I can make an function main. Do I know Rust? I have a Rust program that I function main, and then hello world. And I think, I don't have cargo or anything installed here, but I think you can just say rustc test.rs. Actually, we should call it my program, right? And now if we say my program, it should say hello. Oh. Oh, right, because it doesn't. If we tell it to use the shell, like for some reason, somehow on Windows in this configuration, you can copy myprogram.exe or move myprogram.exe and copy it over. Because YouTube is not responding. Over to my program. And if you say my program that's hello world, yeah. .exe. But we can also just change this to just have the .exe in it. And maybe on Windows we should default to .exe. Maybe on Windows we should default to .exe or do some rule based on the language you chose. What am I doing right now? I'm just yeah. So I changed. Okay, so I changed the thing, and then so cargo rust c my program.rs files it, and then rogo test. It should be mad that it printed out hello world, and so we instead want it to print out. Delete that. And we want it to print out for I in no, we want it to print out for I in, how about for Y in 0 to 21, and then for for X in 0 to 10, print dot. And then we need to read a line of input, and I have some example code somewhere. I don't have my Emacs open. Emacs. I guess I can technically open any file. It's actually not easy to open like a random file in here. I don't know. You can open like a whatever. Once Emacs shows up. Come on, Emacs. I don't know why the load time is so slow. It's not running like the ELIST stuff. It just takes forever to just launch the Emacs process. So much so that I sometimes start it again and then YouTube is not responding. And look and see if YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain a smooth streaming. As such, viewers will experience buffering. Okay. Sorry, viewers. All right, Emacs came up. Okay, so ver tangent code, tangent labs rust. And somewhere in here I have like a REPL. Not 4th, that's a command line thing. Come on. Like Rust mode has an issue in it. Line is read. Okay, where does read come from? Is this okay? So whatever that is, function read, and then we need standard IO and standard IO write. Okay. Why do we need standard IO write? I don't think we need that. And then I really want this. Right, so we say mute buff equals string new. This is an option string. Option string. We don't print out that. We do flush standard out. I don't know if we need to do that. Oh, that was just to print out the prompt. Read line mute buff. We can hide this stuff on the left here so we have more space. There used to be a Rust mode for PyCharm, but they took it out. And it tells us how many outputs are. So we would say if is sum, then or really we're just going to map it. Is sum, then sum buff, else none. Yeah, that's it. I think we can simplify that with like a map, but I'm not going to worry about it. All right, so we're going to say if readlin is none, return, else do all this. And that's it. So if we get any input at all, then print out the matrix and then, oh no, because it's going to be quit. If let sum s equals readlin, then do all this stuff. And we say if, stop. If s equals q, break, else, or not break, but return. Else do this. I think we need one more. I don't have. I think that's right. Maybe I should. Maybe I should load the. Where are we at? We're in beaver temp myprogram.rs. Oh, whatever. Hey. I have one extra one. Okay. This formatting style only works if you have syntax highlight. Rogo test. But Rust C and then my program. All right. Right. option string is okay. And I find value Q in the scope is right there. Is this? Oh, there was supposed to be an extra one of those. I just hadn't. It was up here. There we go. All right, and so now if we run this my program, we say Q. Is it like a strip? I'm gonna just guess. That you can't do that. String rust. Oh wow, rust string strip. I thought this was gonna be like a hello world kind of thing. Trim. Okay. I should probably have had this ready to go. If s equals q. Okay. I think this works now. Yes. Okay. So now let's run it again, and we say q and it quits, and we run it again and we say p and it prints that, and then we say rogo test. That should be sufficient to pass that test. Oh. I think we have to say while. Actually, we have to say loop. That's the moment. I'm going to change this. So if let some. Oh, no. So this is, I want one command to do all this, and that's why the rogo test should actually build your code. Rogo test should actually build your code. That's the test. So I'm thinking this is rogo test. Oh, it's just mad about one. It's missing one line. Okay. Right, because yeah, it should have been 22. I was thinking that Rust worked like this. If you say dot equal 21, dot, then this range includes the 21. But I forgot the little equal sign. All right, so the actual command we should do is rusty my program, and then if it works, rogo test. And that's the press one button to go up. And really, we should do what it says and remove that and remove that. And now build cleanly, all two tests passed. And then we say rogo next, and it should give us whatever the next test is. And it does, and it says, given this thing, then read in the input. I'm not going to build that right now, but that works. That's the workflow. So you pass a test, you get the next test, and ideally, it'll also encourage you to follow a discipline where you commit your changes and you run your tests and you don't get the next test until all your tests pass or things like that. Maybe you can override that with a force or something. Maybe maybe override rogo next with F if your test does not pass, or your repo or your working copy is not clean. Whatever. And ideally, like you would get something like ideally you would have to give it a The dot dot syntax does sort of inclusive ranges. Yeah. 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 I don't know. They just chose that, so that's their fault. I think usually you do want to say that. I don't know. If you're saying like low to high or whatever, I don't know. I don't have a preference. Actually, my preference is actually that, right? Because it's 22. I don't know. It does not matter to me. So I have a question for you, Batlin. Does this make any sense? You've seen? I know you saw like some like. Whoa! What is this? Ah! What did I just do? Oh, it printed thousands and thousands of lines. That's not good. Let me use Emacs here. They crippled PyCharm that revert. Yeah, shut up. I don't care if it's a project or anything. PyCharm used to have a Rust mode, and then they made a Rust IDE, and so I think they removed the Rust plugin. So I guess normally I use VS Code. Else, great. All right. So if it's not, and then close the. Nope. That there, and then close this. Yeah, I need my syntax highlighting, or this mode just does not work. Like writing Lisp. You might ask why I do that, but my question was, does this rogo thing make sense? Does it sound like it's like, is it coherent what I've done? Okay, that still did that. All right, because I didn't recompile. Else return. Maybe it's sending blank lines that it shouldn't be sending. Oh, okay. So if s equals continue, maybe there's a bug in the runner in rogo. I did not think it. No. Oh! It's running the next test. It's not failing the print test. It's running this. It's failing this test. Right. Okay. So that makes sense. So really, we should just say if s equals p, then do this. Right. Because I was just being snarky or silly and did this. Right. And yeah. So then I didn't check. I didn't pass the test. Right. And then if s is equal to g, or otherwise, okay, maybe just say else println unknown command, and I think you just have template strings in here, so it just looks like that. Boom, and that's it, and that's it, and that's it. Right, so it was printing out that matrix for every line in this input. So the input here is, yeah, this is the input it's getting, which is the next test. So the idea is you're getting the code of a matrix, and now you're supposed to read that into memory. Right. So my question is any of this making sense? Does this look like I don't know. Very soon I need to get people to try this. So the workflow is now done. Like you can if I commit this, and I publish Rogo, I can ask people to go and work through Tetris or LearnTris using this color highlighting to find what test. Well, yeah. So the problem is that it's giving you a diff, and like, you know, obviously there is output here, so it's a long diff, and the idea is the whole part of this, the whole idea of this is that instead of running it in your local terminal, what we're going to do is we're going to move this thing. You know, so okay, so this is going to move to the browser. Like this experience that you're seeing right now. 10 years ago, I wrote these LearnTris tests, and it would print out all these little. Instead of printing out these dots, it would just print out this. Print out the test description, the input given, you know, the diff, everything, and it was just like a wall of text. And then when it stopped scrolling, would be the last thing that you would look at. So I did a little bit of cleanup where I put these dots here, and so now it only shows the test that fails, the first test to fail. But even then, see, like, it's a long description, and you've got, here's your input that's given, and here's the output you gave it, and then here's the diff, and you just can't fit it on your screen. But if you could put it in multiple columns and, you know, like you said, do some syntax highlighting, maybe. Just, you know, I don't know what the syntax highlight. Like, these actually indicate colors. Like this is magenta, red, blue, and yellow. Those are the official Tetris colors for those shapes. You know, so maybe that should be on the screen, but then you ought to be able to see it nicely formatted in the browser. And every time you run rogo test, you should see the results in your browser, like update live in a screen. To try it in NIM, all right, go for it. That's awesome. Yeah, I will do that. I'm going to set this up maybe right now. Why not? What's stopping me? Let's see. Well, first of all, I need to commit my changes. That's one thing. All right, so let's commit. Clicking on one of the tests. Right. So, well, it's gonna you should, unlike a normal test runner, you're only presented with one test at a time. So you're right though. Like if you have a regression, then you should be able to jump. Well, it only presents you with one failure at a time. It only tests up to the first failure. Maybe that's not useful. Maybe you do want to see all your tests, but also the tests are designed to be something where like you're building up as you go along. So like, unlike unit tests, these are like integration tests, and so the behaviors actually do kind of depend on each other. Normally you make your unit tests independent, whereas this is you're building up a language or something as you go along. And so if you break something early, it almost certainly is going to break something later. Yeah. Might move forward in a test in a way that invalidates previous. Yes, exactly. Well, for example, this like here, the very first test is that if you quit it without any, you know, if the test send the letter Q and there's no output, then you pass the test. And so the echo program passed the test. But then when I made it print out a matrix, you know, if you don't test for the letter Q, then it's going to fail. And so you right off the bat you get some kind of you know, failure or whatever, explicit failure. Oh, there's one more test. So I now that I have an executable, I want to say rogo check and just make sure that it in the other directory, rogo check, and that it ran that executable. Try that again. So it did run it, but it didn't. Oh, okay. And that's because we also do want this. If s equals q or s is equal to return. So as long as you have no, as long as you accept no input, so like the pipe closing. Oh, but it didn't send empty result. This part didn't work. I think this is blocking, waiting for a line. Like if you say echo hello through my program. Unknown command. Yeah, it's going on forever. So it's that this is not registering that the input is closed. Right? If let sum equals readln. This is the else println. No, this is returning an empty string every time, or returning. Did I rebuild it? Hang on. Or yeah, no, I did not rebuild it because that would have failed. So okay, so let's try that again. Now it would say echo hello through my program, unknown command hello, and it yeah okay, so that was the fix. Rogo check. Yeah, so we need to be able to check that. So that's the goal. Okay, so that all worked. Maybe that should always be the first test. I made this an explicit check because I wanted it to be the like I didn't really think it should be a test case. Because then you would have to write it explicitly for every course that you write. Like the first test is always going to be the same, that you can establish communication with the test runner. And so that's why I thought rogo check would be the sensible way to do that. Maybe I should just put the test as like an implicit thing that runs on like rogo test should always run rogo check. Rogo test should always run rogo check, even though it's not an official test. Because we just saw an example where there's an explicit Q and that quit it. The reason for that is because when I write the test, I am constantly forgetting to put the Q in there. That's one thing. And then two, I would like to make it, and so then the test always time out. And then I think that the Q doesn't need to be there. I think you ought to be able to just close the connection, and then you don't need to explicitly quit. Because you might not be able to explicitly quit if it's like a, well, you would always quit the like wrapper command, but like maybe I'm considering an option where you, like for example, for Smalltalk, you do have a command line interface. You can run Smalltalk programs in a command line interface, but you normally wouldn't. You would normally run it in a shell or in the command. You know, it's a graphical environment, and you would normally like connect to a web server or something. So you can like save your program and but it wouldn't work well with the Smalltalk experience, I guess. So instead of running over standard I/O, you would the rogo is going to learn how to talk over HTTP. your program. And that's one of the things that you could do in the .rogo file. You'll be able to say this, you'll be able to say something like, kind, or kind is equal to HTTP, something like that, and then URL or something else, whatever. I don't really have I haven't gotten that far yet. All right. Anyway, so I think everything is working in my mind. Not, it's alpha software, but the basics are there. So let's see what we can do about. They're both in that directory. Rogo. All right, so let's check all this code in. So what did I do? I always like to go through and look at my changes. And so gd rogo SQL init.sql progress. Not null default, current timestamp. Progress table. How about SQL progress? Add timestamps. Smalltalk is pretty special. I tried Squeak about 10 years ago and never saw anything quite like it before or since. I would. You should go look at some of my videos on the graphics tool I'm looking at. I'm working on, or I think on the channel it now says the Pharaoh live streams, and I'm using this tool called Glamorous Toolkit. They've completely revamped the UI. The Glamorous Toolkit is a new UI for Pharaoh, which is Pharaoh being like a cleanup of Squeak. There were a bunch of professional Smalltalk developers decided they wanted to, and professors decided they wanted to clean up Smalltalk, and so they made this thing called Pharaoh, which is based on Squeak, but it looks a lot nicer. And then Glamorous Toolkit came in and just made this really cool UI, and it's probably my favorite development environment. So I'm definitely going to do a learn tris in Squeak, or in Glamorous Toolkit. Yeah, fair. I think he said we'll check it out. I tried Pharaoh briefly, but got distracted and never came back. I had the same experience with Squeak and Pharaoh when I tried it. Like it just, like, it's a really cool environment, but I don't know what distracted you. But for me, the environment itself was distracting. Like, it's got all these windows everywhere, and I lost my context all the time. Whereas with Glamorous Toolkit, it has well, you'll see. It's just really cool. It's got like it's not a notebook style interface. It is a notebook, but you're writing in a notebook. But then as you work on things, like a tab opens up, or a panel opens up next to you. They're called Miller columns, after some guy named Miller. But you open a new context next to you, and it scrolls off to the right as you're going. So you can always like see your stack by scrolling back to the left, and you know what context you're in, and it just works out so much nicer. Plus, this thing it's called a moldable development environment, where you're like, for every object you make a view, and so when you click on something, that view opens up and you can inspect it and do things with it, and it's just really neat. So I'm I mean, I'm not saying you have to watch the video, but just like look at any of the screenshots in the video. It's so cool. Or go to glamouroustoolkit.com. Very, 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 very cool. In fact, all the web's framework I've been hinting at is I'm going to take some of those ideas and put them on the web for the stuff I'm building. Not this in particular, but whatever. Okay, so model add is passed to test result. These are all small changes that don't need to be grouped into runner.py. Yeah, so saving the rules is the main change that I made. So git add rogo runner.py, gd rogo app.py. Save rule has a is apt up. This is database stuff. Somehow there's always like a little extra space in there, right? Driver, clarify, what we call it, clarify error message, or clarify text, or rewrite, or correct the text when all passed. Say rogo show correct the text when all tests pass. And then these are all git commit -m, which is gc -m. These are save, so save progress and validation rule when test pass. Okay, so now I need to would love to try that in VR. Squeak had some sort of Lawnmower Man vibes for some reason. Yeah. There is a I saw something really cool about Squeak. It's called React S. Basically what they did is they ported React, the framework, the web framework, to Squeak, and then it connects to Godot, the Godot game engine, which has a there are like 3D things in Squeak, like there's one called Croquet and whatnot, but Godot is a much nicer engine, I think. And they connected. Basically, they made a React for 3D, and it connects to Godot. And as you change the Squeak objects, you get all that reactive flow stuff, and it changes the VR scene. And so there's a VR toolkit for Squeak, and I believe you actually can do all the like editing of code and stuff in the VR. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I only saw it in a video, and I don't know if they've published their stuff. React Squeak, React S for Squeak, React S Godot Squeak. Yeah, bringing Squeak Smalltalk liveness to Go via React. Check this out. I'll put this in the chat if you guys want to check this out. Really cool video. Really cool Squeak video. Oh, I say you guys. There's only one person watching. Live programming over TCP. Yeah. Godot with React.js. This was really cool. I'm not gonna play it, but I don't know if they have a demo here. So yeah, where you're. Well, I guess you wouldn't see what they're seeing in VR, but I think you can talk about it. It's kind of neat. I haven't had a chance to play with it, or haven't taken the time to play with it. Liveness, yeah, that's one of the properties that's the word they use for Squeak, is liveness. What am I doing? This is not get status because I'm in the wrong directory. That's why I don't like having two things open. All right, so everything is up to date. And then I wanted to publish this. So you ought to be able to, right this second, if you wanted to run this, you ought to be able to fork my repo, which is github.com tangent storm, or not fork it, but just clone it. Tangent storm rogo. But you can't do this yet because I haven't checked in. I mean, you can do it, but it's not up to date. So I need to learn. Well, it doesn't matter. I can just say I got to see how to package it again. So I did it the other day, but I don't remember how to do it. PyPy, how to share a package on PyPy. Oh, something called Twine, right? Medium. Recode camp, sure. Twine upload repository. Yes, so you have to make it. Right, and then pip install. Wait, what? Why would you do that? Pip install upgrade Twine, right? Oh, because it knows what the thing is. Pip install pip list pip. What are the commands for pip? Pip show rogo, right? Hmm. And then in the rogo directory, there's a something called, I don't need this. There's something called iProject.toml. And it has dependencies. Right, so say pip. It's not seeing this. So okay, so I need to know, how do I build this? Build. I think pip. Is there pip build? No. There is a tool called build. Right, that's what it was. Pip install build, which is already satisfied, and then you say python-m build. And it's going to build this thing for you. And then it's rogo 111. And then if I say pip install, well, I think you can actually install it right from this directory, but this is going to make a directory called sdist and a directory called dist that has a wheel in it. Wheels are like binary files. ls dist. Oh no, so that both of them are in there. ls dist rogo 01011. Okay. And then we say twine upload, and I think that's it. Oh, we say twine check and see what that does. Long description. I want to at least put something on there, because right now if you go to pypy.org and you search for rogo, tool for test-driven teaching, and there's no project description. There's here, but then there's nothing. All right, so I just wanted to learn. I wanted to fix that before I upload it, and then I'm going to upload it. So py long description, or yeah, whatever. That'll be the right thing. Formats supported by PyPy's README renderer are plain text. Do I have a README? Yes, I do. I have a long README. I need to look for the project iProject.tomo file, and then README or whatever. All right, let's do just make sure we have all this. We have name. Maybe I'll put this right here and then put the other one right next to it and hide that over there. We have name. README. So where is README? On a hyperlink, README. Go. Dependencies. And I think if we let me run that check again. Oh no, we have to build it. Just Python and build, and then do that again. Optional dependencies, README requires Python scripts, URLs, version scripts. I think entry points cover scripts, and then scripts is like if you want to have it. Because you say entry point. Oh no, I do have scripts. This is an entry point. Rogo driver main, and it makes an exe file called rogo from that. From rogo.driver, the module, and then the function main. I think this is enough. I'm just going to read through this real quick though. Let me make this a little bigger and just see what kind of stuff we have in here. I think just adding the README was. Do I have a description? I do have a minor description. There's no long description. Where does it say long description? Long. I think long description is the README because I don't see anything else. Or classifiers. Okay. URL. Array of strings. Trove classifiers. I don't know what that. Trove is a directory and tags, standardized tags for things, which I could look at. So look for Trove tags and add to PyPy. I guess keywords is similar to that. Maintainers. I wish I had an example of this. I don't know how Tomo works to say it, because you want to say example pi project maintain. Ah, okay. I knew you could do that. Maintainers. Right. I decided I'd. Okay. Maintainers is equal to a list containing one name David R. McIver. I don't know who that is. Michael J. Wallace. Email Michael Wallace at gmail.com. Feel free to email me if you want to. I don't always check my email, but won't guarantee a response. But oh, what's wrong with that? Inline tables are intended to appear on a single line. Well, if it makes you happy. Classifiers. Oh, I see. So it's not just tags, it's all kinds of stuff. No, actually, we do want that. So let's say classifiers is equal to just a list of strings. Intended audience developers, that's actually true as well. I don't know if that's actually true, because it's not really developers, it's students who are learning developers. I don't know, it's good. Sure. I'll leave it up for now. I'll think through this. Like, dependencies. Now this is, dependencies is here. Requires versus dependencies. No, yeah. I think what happened here is like there are no dependencies somewhere here. Like other things show dependencies here. If we look at like build itself, that thing I just downloaded, like it has dependencies. Project links, changelog, homepage. So if I want to put a homepage here, I need to put like URLs in the. So project URLs. Okay. So if we say project.urls, homepage equals https tangentcode.com. I wonder if you can even. I don't think I actually did the www version of that. So www.tangentcode.com. It's my little placeholder website. Oh, yeah. If you put the www there, welcome to Nginx. So put a redirect www to tangentcode.com. You can't actually log in here, but eventually this will put something. Maybe I'll just leave this blank for now. And maybe I'll just make the github.com tangent storm rogo will be the homepage for now. And I guess homepage. Okay. Don't need this. This. Don't need this. And you can put anything here. Maybe put source here. Homepage. And then because it will be there, and I don't know if I'm gonna how often I'll be updating this, and then we'll say live version demo or live server, excuse me. Is that taken from requirements.txt? No, they replaced requirements.txt with this thing. So it's now in this toml file. And so I actually moved my requirements.txt into this. This is all new to me. This is how you generate a setup file now in Python, or how you can set up. You can still do it the old ways, but I didn't remember the old ways, so I went and looked at, and this is what it told me to do. So oh, and you know what? Let's read the README, because let's see if it's up to date. README. For now, you have to do this manually by running following commands. It might be easier to run from this is still alpha. This is still very alpha level, alpha stage. So for now, you probably want source. Git clone HTTP. How do you clone it? I don't usually clone the HTTP way. I just tangent storm git rogo.git. cd rogo, and then pip install -e. And then setting up the database. Eventually, but for now, so for now, you have to do this manually, running the following commands, and then we will say SQLite 3 rogo, no, sorry, echo read SQL, read rogo SQL cd path to rogo repo, echo read rogo SQL init.sql through SQLite 3 rogo.stb. Currently expects rogo.stb in the current directory. Currently both, you need one copy for the client and one for the server, and one for the server, right? So these should run in separate directories. Eventually, there will be one copy for the server and one copy for each working for each attempt, each challenge attempt. Eventually, there will only be one copy on the client side, but because it expects to find, because rogo expects one global copy, okay, and one eventually on the client side, there will only be one global copy for all, one global database shared by all attempts on your machine. But because rogo still expects the database, you need multiple copies. For now, blah blah blah. I'll make a demo video that just runs through this, and then I'll release a new version of that. But see. Maybe I'll put a link to the playlist, youtube.com. Where's my youtube.com tangent stream? Is that me? Oh, look at that guy. This is a work in progress. This is a work in progress. There are videos about it I'm not gonna link to that thing because it doesn't stay up to date. youtube.com tangent stream on youtube.com. The video about and the following commands. This is painful. I should fix this. Maybe that'll be the next thing I do. Fix database. I'll move that up and fix database setup. I think that's good enough. You can try this here. Oops. If you just go to rogo.tangentcode.com, you should be able to browse it, and this will change as things are happening. You can't really do much here, but this will be, oh, sorry, live server equals that. And is there anything else I want to put on there? Not yet. This is good enough for now. Probably I'm going to have a Discord server. A great maintainer. Okay. I think this is done. All right, so let's try it again. Oh, must be exactly by one definition file. So something my README is not correct. But how old is that? It might have caught me in the middle of changing something. readme right here. What's wrong with this? Readme is equal to file equals readme. I don't know what's wrong with that. Project license, I now know how to do that. So we can say license is equal to file license. Oh, what did it say? Keywords? Testing, teaching? Nah. I'll think about that later. Okay, content type, at least one of the following files or text and a content type. Oh, you say readme equals readme.md. Man. I'll say it requires Python 3.11. What am I using? Python 3.11. Man. And compatible with 3.11. I'll do greater than equal 3.11. I think that's good enough for now. And I would like to separate the dependencies because it depends on Quart. That's only if you run the server. You do need requests and you do need JWT either way. I think you just say Python and it will. Yeah, it tells you what version it is. Okay, so let's, now that we changed that README thing, let's run it again. Python and build. It should run that test again, and hopefully we pass, and then we can submit this. Everything passed, okay. And then now we say twine, and we can say twine check or something. Twine check. Okay, check, and then dist rogo dot 11 star. And then we say twine upload. This had to be underscore underscore token. Your username is underscore underscore token token. And your password, I have to go track down. because I put it in a file and it no, because wherever I told it to put things, it did not. I put yeah, so it wanted it to be in a particular file, but it's not seeing that file, or it's not doing something with that file, or whatever. And the file contains the password in plain text. That's not cool. Actually, let's try it again, because maybe it's not. Nope. I got to copy and paste this long password, so I don't know why it doesn't like that, but there we go. Hide the password from the screen so I don't expose it to the world again. And then we're back here. All right, so I typed in the long password and it worked. I got to work out a better workflow for that. Bump, README, and PyProject for version 0.11. So yeah, I would actually not recommend doing it from PyPy now that I think about it. If I put it in the README, I would check this out from the source. It's really just because you need to get access to that SQL file. So really, once I get like some kind of database check working, then I think that's good. But I guess I don't want people to start. I mean, anyone is welcome to try this, but just know that if you try it right now, you're probably gonna have to wipe out your database and do it again. But and if you wipe out your database, you're gonna have to type rogo next, rogo test, rogo next, rogo test over and over again until you get until you re-download all the tests that you've already done. So there needs to be like a better way to do that. So like rogo something command to like run all tests and to loop through. And how about speed run? I don't want to encourage people to do this. Maybe like rogo recover to recover. That's what you could do. We could recover an existing playthrough and re-import into your database. And that way you could upgrade and then delete the database, say rogo login, rogo recover, and it would find one of your existing attempts and then download that session for you. And in fact, if you check the .rogo file into your based on your attempt, so you would not want to check in your rogo.stb file because that would be like global anyway. But you could wipe it out, and then if you're in a directory where you have logged in, so rogo login, and then B rogo init, so you've already created the attempt, you should be able to recover the attempt. And so rogo recover needs to exist. So rogo recover would re-download and the progress to get progress to recover progress on an existing playthrough, and it should look at the .rogo file or ask you to provide one. So if you've already done all the tests and now, like, say you've completed the tests in language A and now you want to do language B, you could recover the test if you wanted to. And then you could work offline, I guess. We'll see. I'll think about that. I don't want to encourage that because I want the server to tell you what the next test is, because based on how your program behaves, you might get different tests. Like, it's meant to be a trail, and that trail should be personalized for you based on what it sees in your code and the mistakes you're making or the choices you make as you go along. So let's see what happens here if we refresh this. It should say 1.1. Hey, look at that. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Container, Michael Wallace, and it's put my email address online for everyone to see. Wonderful. Requires Python 3.11, Tangent Storm. Do I have other things? I do have other things. Oh, somebody gave me a star. Thank you. Not my star. Oh, no. Thanks, Destinova. Live server. There we go. Boom. First code. There we go. And then the home page is here. Okay. And if we go here, we get YouTube. Rogo, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And I'll update that as I go along as well. Oh, and you also need to set up this thing if you want to run the server. But you don't need that for just the client. All right, I'm going to take a little break for a while. This is a good place to stop. We published 0.11. We're done with the client, at least for now. The next big step is to take, as you pass a test, basically at this point, when the server accepts your test or fails a test, whenever a server is asked to check your code, which would be either because you had a regression or because you made the thing, so that your command line client is now connecting and running this check here. If it fails, then we should send a message. So there needs to be almost like a chat server kind of thing that knows that you're logged in through the browser. How do I make it like a new private window? So if you go to rogo.tangentcode.com, there is no login button. Right. So all right. So I'm gonna have to add that. There is. Yeah. I think you can say like login. Yeah. This does not actually work, but you can log in with Google. I've not been able to successfully log in with GitHub yet, but if you log in with Google, then you're logged in, and then you can use rogo.login to use this server. There's also a big problem if I wipe out the database on the server, right? Because I'm not saving anyone's data, and I would just say anybody who's using this, your data is gonna go away. So it's not ready to go yet. It's close. We're very, very close. I need to figure out how to the way to do it is I need to stop deleting the database and start using migrations. And so, and that will keep everybody in sync. So then you'll run like rogo update or pip install update or something like that. Yeah, I need to think about this because it's not quite ready just because of that. Because right now I'm in the habit of just wiping out this thing, and I'm using it as a dev server. Like this is my live server is my dev server, and I think it'll frustrate people. Or at least I need a very clearly set expectations of anybody who's going to use this is going to lose their data. But my next round of tests is going to be fixing up this UI, or my next stream or whatever is going to be fixing up this UI. So we're going to have, instead of just this, you're actually going to be able to browse the test, and you're going to be able to browse all the tests that you have not, that you have already completed, and you'll be able to submit an answer for them. Like manually or whatever. No, you're not going to lose your. So the question is, lose what data exactly? Current test in your code. It's just the progress. So right now, if I wiped out the database, well, first of all, I could, like, say you're working through LearnTrust, I could wipe out the database and forget to re-import LearnTrust, right? So like it's completely unstable right now, and in fact, I'm going to be rewriting the LearnTrust script, the test, the challenge, and so. Like my goal is, okay, fix this UI so that you can at least see the test on the screen, like we talked about earlier, so it's not just filling up your whole terminal window. It's going to be nice and pretty in the browser. And then that's one. And then two, I'm going to work through LearnTrust myself in like J or something. And as I do that, I'm probably going to change things. And I don't have a way to like re-import things. And like, what happens if you, like if I reorder the tests or things like that, like that could be very unstable. So what you would lose, obviously your code is on your machine. You're not going to lose that. And even when, right. And eventually there'll be like a cloud environment or like, write code in your browser kind of thing. But that would all be version controlled. You'll never lose your code here. And once this is stable, you'll never lose your data, but things like progress. The test runner should, so all right, let me show you why I don't like test numbers. So LearnTrust. And by the way, you can run LearnTrust right now using the old test runner, which is completely offline. It's just, that's how I have been working. The test plan is all right here. You can see the test plan to get an idea of it. It's just rogo is a new thing. And so when I got the bug reports, first of all, if you look at the plan, there are no numbers in the plan, right? But they all have names, and if you move them around, like, it would be a nightmare to keep track of the numbers, because they need a name, right? And then that way you can reorganize them. And so I now have a very small name for each file. You can't actually see it in here. So like this is io.g. They all have very small names. So I would want this to say, commit io.g, even though it's if you say test, I don't know if you can move the chat up here. Right, so now I can share the chat, but I can't make it big. But if you say test number 123, GitHub is going to mark that and try and link to in your repo like bug number 123. Yeah. The sequence of tests is sort of like DB migrations. Well, it shouldn't matter as long as we can match. Okay, you're right. Like it is a DB migration. This relationship is between the test ID, and that's like an actual ID. Everything has an actual ID. It's not in this diagram. And maybe that's wrong. Maybe here this should actually have a test name. And that should be the right way to do it. Because that way this is a unique key. Name is unique. Chid and name together are unique. But I think this needs to be test name. This is not true anymore. Or maybe we should make it blue. Blue on my diagram tends to mean like a blue sky thing. It's a thing I want to add. So I think this needs to be test name, or just TST or something like that. T name or something. Test name. and actually make this the key, because this could conceivably change. Or I need to have a protocol for re-importing. Or I don't know. I imagine at some point like the tests are going to be done, right? And then that's the course. And then, you know, if we make a second edition of the of the challenge, then it would be like, a different challenge. And so it shouldn't change all that often. But I could also see like people are making a course. I want to open this up to other people, and they would write their course and either import it from an org file or use some kind of like web-based tool to edit it. And then like what happens, it's kind of like in Jira or in a bug tracking system, like you might break a ticket into two pieces. You might break a ticket into two different pieces. You might, I think it's a good idea to have people working through your tests, and then you evolve them with the user feedback. It should grow with feedback. You should test it out on people, on yourself, and then on other people, and then even then you're going to grow. So you're going to grow and change. Two different challenges both have Q quits for the first test. Yeah. So the unique ID is actually the challenge ID and the name. So the challenge ID would be LearnTris, and the name would, or whatever LearnTris is bound to here, and then the name would be something. Like in the end, it doesn't really matter if you lose your progress. Like say you've got a test group of people, test users, and you write, say you got 10 people in the group, and so like 5 people have done test ABC, and then you decide to retire ABC. Do we delete those records? Maybe. I don't know. Or maybe they're just marked as passed, and then I don't know. Well, I guess maybe we could move them to a group of like things. Yeah, I don't know. As long as changing some intermediate test didn't somehow invalidate all subsequent tests. Yeah. Well, it could. I mean, like say you. Part of the design here is that you as the test, or I as the test author, or whoever is deciding to be the challenger, challenge giver, the person issuing the challenge, right? The challenger is someone taking the challenge, but the one who issues the challenge, you kind of have to define a protocol, and it would be very easy to break that protocol because you realize that your protocol is stupid or something like that. But if you change a test and now my code wouldn't pass it, can we end up in a weird state? I think what happens is maybe we need to somehow retire a test. Somehow retire, like somehow mark as retired, obsolete. So then we're not deleting data. Marked that they wouldn't pass the current version of the test. So yeah, so one other thing in the progress, I was thinking of actually saving the solution. Like right now, these tests are very, very strict. Like there's an exact output that you have to send. And with Code Academy and other things, there's usually a wider variety of things. Like usually your input is your actual code. Whereas here, we don't, the server doesn't necessarily see your code. It doesn't know what language you're using. It just sees the output. And it tells you what the output should be, right? So in theory, you could you could game this system right now by just ask for the diff between like your empty line, and then you get to So that's why the leaderboard doesn't matter. But I want to change it so that right now instead of output lines, hard coding the output lines, or in addition to being able to hard code output lines, there should be a rule that validates your answer, and that rule is going to be the rule is going to be like code. I think so my first test is LearnTrist, and then I'm doing this thing that is a virtual machine, and I was going to use that virtual machine to run the validators, and so that way you would have this little sandbox that you could run on your local machine, and we can trust that it's not going to be able to do anything dangerous, and then it can run that. You can trust the code to run on your machine and validate the results, and then once you do that, this would be replaced by that validation rule. And maybe there's like some like hard coded kinds of rules, like must be one of these, or it must pass this grammar, or something like that, or like maybe some kind of it's a JSON, and then the JSON has to match some JQ expression or something like that. Things like that. It has to match a regex, something like that. Or like the example I'm thinking of the most often lately is my go-to example is the permutations. So when you play Tetris, the official rule is you don't get random tetrominoes. You get the 7 possible tetrominoes are permuted into some order, and then you get one of those permutations as the bag from which you're going to draw the tetrominoes. And so I might want to inspect that. And the inspection should be that it is a permutation of those 7 letters. The letters for the tetrominoes, O and J and K and all that. Or not K, O and J and L and S and Z and whatnot. And so then there are 5,040 different possible things, and so it can't just be one of or that. So like some permutation of this or something, like a set. Using a set so that the order doesn't matter or something. And you can't express that in JavaScript, and so there's going to be like some kind of I gotta have a notation for that, or a rule for that, or something like that, and so yeah, that's the idea for O lines, and then even then, like, okay, so once you've given me your permutation, that needs to like say, okay, here's the validation rule would be, okay, you've correctly permuted these things, and now you've got a queue, and now we say, okay, now give me the next piece, and it should pop the first thing out of that queue. So we can no longer treat it as a permutation. We have to say, look at whatever the last test was, whatever the result was there, set a variable that says here's now treat that as a list, pop the first thing out of the list, and then when we look at the thing again, it should be that list, without the first item, and so that has to happen. It has to be there has to be a program to do that, right? You can't. That's not a set of rules that you can easily define without a programming language. That's not a declarative kind of thing. There's a relationship between the steps, and then you'd want to test that over the next 5 steps that those things did get, or maybe it might be one test, but those 5 things did get popped out in the right order, in the order that your program randomly specified. And I think that's entirely possible. So that's why I'm just rambling here, but that's why the rule is going to be a lot more advanced than what it does now. So eventually you won't be able to just cheat your way through. But for the simple test, you will be able to. In fact, I was thinking about like having a leaderboard, and you can only you can only join the leaderboard if you take a test on how to cheat. Like once you learn how to cheat, then you realize that the leaderboard is worthless. But I don't know. That's kind of silly. But yeah, but I do think that we might have situations where we mark a test as retired or obsolete and remove it from the thing. Maybe that could be as simple as setting the. Oh, this is way out of date. There's a thing called group now. I lost a version of this file because there's like a group, and then or maybe I just never put this in here. But within the group, you can have multiple tests, and then they have an order. And usually you would see the first one, and then like the other ones would be like edge cases. And if all of them pass, you never see the edge cases, or you might or might not. Name, head, body, eye lines, O lines. Also, so I'm going to set up a Discord server for this because once I start getting people set up, I want to I'd like to have this conversation like on somewhere other than a YouTube chat because like it's very asymmetric. Like you see me on video and I just I don't know what you're responding to. It's much nicer to be able to chat with people and have multiple people involved. So, and I don't have to be online for other people to message me, you or anyone. I'm going to set up a Discord server. Maybe I will do that very, very quickly because now that this is possible to use, I might encourage other people to do that. I have a couple people I've asked to look at it once I'm ready. But who knows who's going to show up. All right, so let's see. So I think I'm done here. When I come back, my next thing I'm going to do browser. I'm going to update the server to show your status, to show your tests, and do all that stuff from the command line. Yeah, I'll put it in the repo, and then so next time you check it out, I'll have it in the README by whenever I set it up. And yeah, I appreciate you hanging out, and I appreciate everybody else watching on YouTube. I don't imagine these things get a lot of traffic, but every once in a while somebody comes by and says they watched the whole thing, so I appreciate it. And I will stop rambling now and come back later to work on the front end. So